Okay, well, with his speech Sunday Drive, will you please welcome Greg Edmonds? Greg Edmonds with Sunday Drive.
We Australians are extraordinarily privileged to be able to get access to wild places in the Australian bush. Something that we can do, that you can do in few other places in the world. It's a quote by Stephen Biddulph, who is a renowned author, psychologist, and a very keen amateur four-wheel drive enthusiast. Mr. Toastmaster, Toastmasters and distinguished guests, that dream came true for me and my wife Carol over 2 years ago when we bought our four-wheel drive. For many years we had dreamt of having a vehicle that would allow us to escape the confines of the city and get out into the bush to see things that very few Australians really get to see. To travel to the remote areas, to the remote places of the Australian bush, the deserts, the mountains in the Kimberleys, the remote areas of Australia. To do that, we needed a vehicle that was capable of getting us there and getting us back. That vehicle was a new 2010 Prado GX Land Cruiser. As I said, we bought that 2 years ago. But when we started with that car, we were complete novices to the world of the four-wheel drive. We had a car, but we didn't know what to do with it, or how to use it, or even what modifications we needed to make sure that it was safe to go bush. So the first step we took, we joined a four-wheel drive club. Now the four-wheel drive club enabled us to do some training, some basic training, to learn how to use the vehicle off-road. They taught us lots of different things about the vehicle itself, how to use the buttons and the dials, you know, how to get it into four-wheel. I didn't even know that when I first went to the course. I had to get the manual out because neither did the instructor, it was such a new car. But they taught us about the vehicle itself, they taught us how to maintain it, they taught us how to drive it off-road, they taught us some of the tricks that more experienced four-wheel drivers have and know to help make sure that your journey is safe. Since doing that course with the Toyota Land Cruiser Club, we have done 7 trips throughout Australia. By a trip, I mean something that's longer than 5 days, up to 14 days so far. So we've been to places like the Strickland Spur. We've seen the Snowy River in its wild places. We've been to Mount Baldy and through the snow line above Mount Baldy, above Bright. We've been to the Flinders Ranges. We've been to the Udendata Track. We've been to the South Australian border, the Portland Sand Dunes. All of that we've done in the last 18 months to 2 years. And wow, what an experience it's been. Getting to those places has been a dream. But it takes more than that. What we've had to learn is just some of the basic skills. You wouldn't believe the capability of these vehicles. But if you don't have the knowledge and the skills, it requires preparation to go bush. It's no Sunday drive. It was only last year that 2 station hands lost their lives in the Simpson Desert, or on the boundary of the Simpson Desert. These were experienced outback workers, but they made the mistake of leaving a broken down vehicle to try and walk the 30 kilometres back to the station, and both of them lost their lives. So going into the remote areas of the bush can be dangerous. So you don't want to take it lightly. It takes planning, it takes preparation, and it takes knowledge and skills. All sorts of things can happen. This picture was me, bogged to the gunnels, on a sand dune on the border track. Every other person in the group got over. Well, there was one other who took the chicken track, right? Which I eventually did as well. Why am I bogged? Well, because my car was a little low. And I got to the soft sand on the top of the sand dune, and the wheels started to spin, and bang, suddenly I was sitting on the belly of the car on top of the sand. So, you know, in doing that, what the club taught us was, how do you get out of a mess like that? You can see it's going to take me a long time to dig it out, and I wasn't too keen to do that. But I used this. Does anybody know what it is? Yeah, it's a snatch strap. Basically, it's a big rubber band. You connect it up to another car, you connect it up to your car, and the other car takes off. It stretches like a rubber band until it works enough kinetic energy to snatch you straight out of the bog or the sand dune or whatever it is and get you back on the way. So, recovery techniques. But when we started to prepare the car, we said, well, what do we need? They said, you need some must-haves. You've got to have great tyres, a compressor. You've got to have recovery gear. You've got to have recovery points, spare parts, all sorts of things. You've got to have a UHF radio. Lots of different things. And then any four-wheel drive that will tell you there's some nice things to have. The things you want to put on your truck, you don't really need them, but hey, a dual battery system, a bull bar, drawer systems, driving lights, and a winch. No, that's not a nice tow bar. Then there's the dream. These are the things I read my four-wheel drive pants for. So you get a winch, the suspension lift. You know, there's a whole series of things we dream about putting on the car to make it better in the bush. But the key purchase, and this is one of the things I learned, the key purchase for a four-wheel driver is tyres. You have to have the right tyres on your car. What you get from Toyota, not good enough. They just punch you, they rip, the sidewall brakes. Too easy to damage. You've got to have a set of light truck tyres. We bought some Mickey Thompsons and they're just Mickey Mouse. Love them. No problem since. You can see the puncture in the bottom end, they always happened in the worst place on the track, the muddiest, the dirtiest. That was actually on about a 20-degree slope, so it was quite risky. That was a friend of ours driving a similar car but with the Toyota tyres. So what I can say to you is, it doesn't take $1 million. All it takes is a vehicle that's well prepared, reliable, it's got a good set of tyres and it's well maintained. And you too can get out there and join Carol and I on the tracks in Australia. Just get out there and do it. You won't regret it.